embark on this spiritual journey of awareness on our road to being love, it's good to have a map. Right? Now, I like maps. As you might suspect, whenever I'm on a road trip, I'm usually the navigator. I know, no surprises. Whether I'm behind the steering wheel or not, I know where I'm going. And that's just it. I like to know where I'm going. And even in those situations when my sense of direction gets turned upside down, or I read the GPS the wrong way, and I get misguided, aka lost, I've learned not to be too concerned about that. That there's probably a reason for these mini adventures, as I've come to tell my children what they are. Maps are merely guides. And if you've looked at them at any time, you've noticed that there's almost always more than one way to get to your destination when you're going somewhere. So whatever goal we're striving for, whatever direction we're headed, including our own spiritual becoming, it's good to have some kind of map or guide along the way, and accept the fact that it's not the only way. Now, many of us are aware that today is, in the Christian tradition, Palm Sunday. And just an FYI, it's also the last week of our season of nonviolence, too. It ends on Saturday. But it doesn't mean we have to end our efforts. Palm Sunday is a time for many to recognize the journey that Jesus made into Jerusalem just days prior to his physical departure from this planet. Today is the beginning of Holy Week, culminating next weekend on Easter Sunday. Now, Jesus had been back and forth to Jerusalem many times. Yet when he rode into Jerusalem for the last time on a donkey, people were suddenly paving the way with palm branches laid before him, a symbol of goodness and victory. They knew who he was. They recognized him as a great leader. And they thought he was coming to be their earthly king, to change things, to guide them. And he was changing things, just not in the way everyone was planning for him. As many of you are aware, there was a special path laid out for this master teacher. The road of becoming for Jesus was to demonstrate unwavering love for and as God through him, being love. That was how he was changing things. He was demonstrating how to live from that divine center of love and forgiveness and compassion, no matter what was going on around him or to him, right up until the end. He gave clues to others, to his disciples and those around him, clues about where he was going and what he was doing and what would happen along the way. For Jesus knew and believed that whatever happened was for the highest and best good of himself and everyone in that time, and for those in the future, what was to come beyond. Jesus was prayed up and filled with the faith of his conviction. He knew who he was and he knew his purpose. His road to being love included two main points. We've talked about them before. Number one, love God. Number two, love your neighbor as yourself. Two rules, two commandments that he lived by. His way of teaching was often presented through parables, short stories that sometimes had a surprise ending, but always provided an important lesson. They were designed to draw in listeners, to teach new ways of thinking, new thought for that time, for that era, new attitudes, and new ways of acting or being in the world. Almost always, there was room for interpretation in these stories, as there are in most lessons of life. We interpret things based on our perspectives and our experiences, don't we? And always there was encouragement to pray, unceasingly, to never give up that connection with Spirit. Science of Mind, this philosophy, is also based on prayer in all matters, unceasingly. It's not required that you be a practitioner to pray for yourself and your desires. Start where you are with what you know about prayer. And if you want to learn more about what we teach prayer, as we call it the spiritual mind treatment, then take a class. Meet with a practitioner or a minister. Read the textbook and practice. Always practice. The road to being loved is paved with goodness, and victory is achieved through practical application of this philosophy, through practicing that good, of repeating in your life what is sacred and positive, of focusing and thinking about what it is you truly want to express in life through you, as only you can. No one else can be you. No one else can think the way you do, or experience life the way you do, or be love the way you are loved. Getting back to our idea of maps, what kind of a roadmap would we create to be love? To express more fully as love in this human experience? Have you ever thought about that? You get to practice it right now. Since we teach that the answers are within you, let's do a quick exercise. Let's take just a moment, close your eyes, take a breath, and reflect on just one time when you were filled with a love so pure, so divine, it was beyond all human comprehension. Think about at least one experience when love was the essence of your being in that moment, when your human ego was silent. Perhaps time stood still, and when all that existed was pure spirit love coming from you, when you were just being love. Now, with your eyes still closed, with the feeling of love filling your being right now, imagine being love in every moment, with every person in your life. Okay, bring that love essence with you back to the room. And go on. Take a breath. How was that? Pretty neat, huh? Wouldn't it be awesome if we could be love in every moment with one another, no matter who they were or what was going on? No matter what we were doing, whether we were together or apart, and regardless of who the other persons were, feeling that belief in essence and expression of divine love. That's the road I'm talking about today. Now that you have an idea, a map, of what that being love feeling is like, let's add some points of interest to our journey. As an individual, your roadmap may include starting to meditate with the goal of doing it every day, maybe several times a day, and include a time of prayer throughout your practice. That's a key word for our maps, practice. In that sense, we're all practitioners, Because if you're on this road to being love, then you are always practicing. Exploring your spiritual nature, expanding your consciousness and ideas about your connection in God. It means exploring and embracing more about your true and authentic nature. Perhaps coming up with ways to serve your neighbor, which means anyone you come in contact with, not just the person who lives a few doors down your street. Everyone in your life. And don't let the word serve frighten you. Service can be as simple and as easy as a smile and a hug. You all served one another at the beginning of the service. Or donating money or clothes or food. Or offering some time as a volunteer. Or doing something else. As you might guess, the road to being loved can be bumpy sometimes. You might get your map turned upside down and go off in a direction that you hadn't intended. That can be both scary and exciting. Instead of going in the direction you've always gone, what if you were open to welcoming new ideas that weren't previously part of your consciousness of possibility? What if you took a detour? You embraced a risk, really brought it in. It may be exactly what your soul needs. Something that fills your heart rather than your head or your time. Another way to look at maps on this road to being is in the form of to-do lists. How many do to-do lists? A way of systematically completing things that you either want to get done or must do in your day-to-day life. I know I'm not the only one that does that. And I've talked with some of you about your to-do list, of how overwhelmed you can get with all the stuff that you have in front of you. Places to go and things to do and goals to accomplish before such and such a time. What do you do first? Especially if it all seems important. In M. Scott Peck's famous work, The Road Less Traveled, he writes early in the book about the necessity for us to teach ourselves and our children discipline. And I'm not talking about the punishment kind. But he says the need to face problems directly and to experience the pain involved. And what he refers to as pain is our own resistance to working them through to completion, a kind of suffering that allows us to grow in the process. He offers 4 basic tools, techniques of suffering, he calls them, that allow you to experience the pain of problems constructively, allows you to grow in discipline. The 4 tools: delaying gratification, acceptance of responsibility, dedication to truth, big T, because it includes being personally challenged as you're being dedicated to truth. And number 4, balancing. So I'm going to repeat this list for those of you taking notes. Delaying gratification, acceptance of responsibility, dedication to truth, and balancing. It's not my intention to go into the detail of each of these today. Maybe we'll do it another time. This list is another roadmap to being and expressing fully as love, because he agrees as well. All of these are for the purpose of expressing love in our lives. I met with one of our congregants recently, and we had such a discussion. He and I shared that there always seemed more to do than there was time in the day. And how sometimes it gets so overwhelming, these to-do lists, that we'd rather be distracted by something that's not on the list. Let's go to that instead. Has anyone ever felt that way? As we were discussing this dilemma, a solution appeared that we both agreed could be the answer. And see if this might work for you in creating a list of how you want to be and express in the world, your map on being on the road to being love. Every day, there are only 3 things to do. 3 things to focus on. Now, you can do more, but only 3 are required, so to speak. And they don't have to be in the order I'm going to offer them to you either. But it's important that you experience one of each of these categories every day. First, do something for your home. Home means your house, your neighborhood, the world, your office, your personal physical space, this church, wherever you travel or rest. It can be any one of those homes. It could be cleaning it, repairing it, nourishing it, designing it, maybe creating a new space within it. Spaces where you can reflect and grow. Focus on doing just one thing or expanding some part of it that provides a greater expression of home, whatever that is to you. And your home is more than the 4 walls and the roof that cover your head. It's the entire planet and more. So every day, do something for or about your home. The second, do something for your prosperity. This can include going to work to earn a paycheck, starting or developing a business, circulating your abundance through a giving or sharing program. It might mean taking a financial class, creating affirmations around money, or balancing your checkbook. Maybe it means keeping your word about the budget you created for your family or yourself, paying off a debt a little bit earlier, or taking yourself out to dinner to celebrate some financial accomplishment that, you've earned this, someplace you've always wanted to go. Every day, do something for your prosperity. And finally, every day, do something for your soul. The possibilities are just as infinite in this category as they are in the others. What makes your soul sing and expand in the universe, in consciousness? What brings you joy? What uplifts you? You can take a walk in nature, be with your pets and animals, work in the garden, visit with a friend, offer volunteer services, take a class or workshop, sing, play with your children or grandchildren, spend quality time with your spouse or loved ones, clean your office, be artistic in some way, exercise your body, meditate and pray. Every day, do something for your soul. Home, prosperity, soul. This list, this map on the road to being love, has simplified things so much for me in just 1 week. The stress I used to pour on myself has been significantly reduced. I've noticed it just melting away. Because all I require of myself is just one thing in each of those areas. And I choose to follow this plan. No one's forcing me. So, as I commit to this plan on a daily basis, the ego voice, what's it called? Maggie, doesn't have much to say anymore. All that condemnation and negative self-talk about not doing enough has gone away. Truly, it's disappeared. I'm living life with a roadmap that allows for scenic detours. I'm learning to welcome spontaneity. If something unexpected comes up that I might want to do, I'm open to considering it now. If something gets canceled that I had planned, I can joyfully choose something else. There's so much more flexibility in my life and in my mind. Also, I've set better boundaries for myself and for others around me. Just like the roads on the highway have guardrails, so you don't drive off the mountain or fall off a cliff, we need to have recognizable boundaries for our intentions and to keep us in alignment so that we can express our callings, our authentic nature, and our purpose. Frankly, I've accomplished more in the last 7 days in one particular area than I have in the last 7 months. It's been that powerful for me. And I'm stunned and excited at the same time. It's easier now to pace myself. I don't have to cram everything into one day. Some of you may know that I'm a little bit obsessive about things that I do. And I can choose to focus on one major task at a time if I choose to. It's a choice. I now imagine a freer, happier, more balanced way of being loved and doing life every day. And this is so much easier than it used to be. So I offer it to you as an option for your standard to-do lists of old. A new thought for doing old stuff. Familiar stuff. A new vision for a different way of being. Again, from M. Scott Peck. We know the world only through our relationship to it. Therefore, to know the world, we must not only examine it, we must simultaneously examine the examiner. Look within. Holmes told us that the road to self-discovery is subject to the law of reality, that it's governed by divine law, and created with the possibility of limitless freedom. That humankind, each one of us, has been led alone to discover ourselves. Discover yourself. So get on it. Let's do this. The road to being loved begins with you. It is you and your personal journey. We must stop burying our love so deep that no one can see it, that you don't even feel it. Or people just see little snippets of it from time to time. We need to remove the roadblocks of fear that keep us from our own joy and our own fulfillment in the highest expression. The road to being love is filled with beautiful experiences, a detour from time to time, great views and awarenesses, maybe a bump here and there, and yet it keeps going. The road doesn't end. Jesus knew that and kept going forward, no matter how unpleasant it got. He trusted that something much better was on the other side of the pain and betrayal. So that's where he kept his focus. He became the victor of his own life. He knew that divine good would prevail beyond his physical presence. Life and love are eternal and unlimited. Everything we do matters. And you may never know something that you've done and how it matters to something in the future or someone else in your life. But trust me when I say that it matters. You matter. What you give of yourself has impact. However big or small, it's a part of you. So make it the best part of you. Give and share and be the blessing, love, and light that you are. In all situations and plans and to-do lists. Travel this road in faith and trust, and watch the world rise up to meet you. Let's have a prayer. Well,